Welcome to Fika's Focus. Voices leading change.
Kate,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. I feel like a famous person. I'm like, hello.
You are
Being
famous.
interviewed.
You are famous. Welcome to the Get to Know podcast. It's a cool opportunity. I am privileged in this opportunity that I get to really dig into people and spend some time with them and help understand who they are, help me understand who you are as a person, who they are as a person. It's important to me, so I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Kate, so let's find out a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Who's in your family? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm 22. I'm only a little baby. And I grew up in Taupo. And then we moved to the Bay when I was 15 with my family. So I'm the oldest. I've got a younger brother and a younger sister, and then my two parents. We moved here, and it was the first time I've moved I lived in the same home, went to the same school, when you know everyone sort of. So that was a big change. And then I decided to go to university in Hamilton, Toronto. And studied a Bachelor of Teaching there in primary school. And then, moved back home. And I'm still here at the moment. Yeah,
I'm lucky I know parts of your story. So Taupo, what schools were you at then, Taupo?
I was Hilltop, and that was like an intermediate, so I went there. And then Taupo Nui, year 9, and then moved here. And Mount College.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate enough to know enough about some of your story about putting your hand up to be the friendship leader. What was it? The peer.
The student leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
So talk to us. I like that story.
I don't really know what I was thinking, but obviously moving here, I was sort of like big fish, little pond in Taupo. So I moved here, massive school, didn't know anyone, and decided to run for student rep at my school. And I remember coming home telling my parents, and I was like, I'm going to run for student rep. And they were like, what? Like, you don't know anyone. Like, what are you doing? Like, no one even knows who you are. And I was like, no, I want to do it. So I had to do a speech in front of every year level, talking a bit about myself. People were probably sitting there like, who is this girl? But didn't get student rep.
Yeah.
But I was like ballsy. Yeah, I think sometimes.
Yeah, I appreciate that story because I think, well, what I appreciate the most is the reaction probably of your parents. That for me, if I ever got that sort of reaction, I was like, oh, yep, I'm on the right path. I think, whenever I look for that reaction quite a lot. How can you do that? Why are you doing that? Nah, it's not a good idea. So I really like that story. Yeah. But if we go back, so let's go back to Taupo, because I know you've spoken to me and I've been lucky enough for you to talk to me about a certain principle that certainly challenged you, shifted you away from friends and things. So talk to us about him.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to have an amazing principal, Mr. Hughes, throughout my primary school. So I was there year 1 to 8. And every year in my class, I was quite a social kid, always the one that got moved for talking. And every year I would make all my friends, and then the class list would come out and you'd run over and see what class you were in. And I was moved every year. I was never in any of my friends' classes, and I used to go home and cry to my mum, and I was like, I'm never in anyone's class. And she was always like, it's okay, you'll make friends. And I did. And every year, and it got to year 8 where, pretty much had made friends with everyone, knew lots of people. It wasn't until I left school that he said to me, he was like, I did that on purpose, I was wanting you to, he believed in me pretty much. He's like, I know you can do it. And he always tried to push me to be the best that I could be. And he was the one that actually told me I should go into teaching, and he saw something in me in that sort of way. So, yeah.
Do you think Mr. Hughes, because I know he's not here with us anymore, right?
Yeah.
So he's passed away, but I mean that's quite an early sight that he saw with you in terms of your potential. What was he seeing?
I'm not sure. I think I was quite a bubbly kid, and I wasn't always, I was quite shy at first, but also quite confident. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think he just saw that I needed to believe in myself more. I think confidence is a hard thing sometimes, and even, this might be weird, but I'm quite tall. So I used to be quite embarrassed of being tall, and I had some teachers that stood up to me, and Mr. Hughes, he would always be like, nope, like stand up, put your shoulders back, because I would always try and slouch and try and fit in with everyone. But yeah, I think he just wanted me to be confident and go against the grain a little bit and just, be who I was.
Why do you think he wanted you to go against the grain? What? There's got to be more. There's something that you're either eliminating from your story, or I don't know. What is it that he saw? Why was it important for you to go against the grain?
I don't know.
Because here's what I see, and I'm not Mr. Hughes, but here's what I see. You still are the bubbly kid. You do stand out. You stand out not because of your height. That's one piece. You stand out because of your attentiveness. You are young and enthusiastic, but you carry some wisdom on your shoulders in terms of what you want to do and achieve. There's still a piece of you that needs to learn to break through and bust through some barriers, which is what Mr. Hughes was probably encouraging in.
Yeah.
But when you do bust through and break through those barriers, there is a level of greatness in you that can go and do great things. I just wondered, right now, like Mr. Hughes probably thought, we have to put you in a scenario that allows you to believe that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you've got a big career coming in, and I don't believe it'll be in teaching forever. But you've got to see that for yourself, right? Because what does it look like for you in the future?
It's hard. When I get asked that question, I always think, I don't know.
Yeah?
I don't know. I think I'm still finding what I want to do. And university was great. I enjoyed studying. I know I love what I'm doing now. But when I look in the future, I don't see where I would be.
Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable?
It's scary. It's scary. I think it's hard as well. I'm obviously early 20s, and everyone's at different stages in their life. Some people know what they want to do. Some people are career driven. They know they want to go down this path. They're working towards a certain thing. But for me, I just want to dip my toe in everything. I want to learn as much as I can. I want to experience as much as I can to find out where I want to go. Yeah, because I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I'm still not sure. I think you're in a beautiful position because there's no pressure on you to. But the real challenge is when there's no pressure on you is to keep achieving.
Yeah.
You know, that's the real challenge, and I think that's what I mean. Surrounded by a great team, you know, Britt and the team down at Pāpāmoa Beach, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there for you to grow. But I think for you, seeing you being content and present in your delivery with kids at Pāpāmoa Beach has been a real privilege of mine. So, you know, I wonder if you think about it then, so like 6 months from now even, you know, what could be something that you might want to be doing in that time?
Definitely more in the space of the transition to school. I know it's something we've spoken about.
Yes.
Super passionate about that, and supporting more in that space of the transition to school and ready for school.
Yes, you've started off with your tell us about your little preschool group that you were running.
Yeah, so we've kind of come up with the idea of a Cool for School club. So that's a space where sort of when children are showing signs of wanting to learn and they have a hunger for learning in that ready to like 4 to 5 year olds. So yeah, we've got a little club going on and we hand out our little Cool for School club ticket. It's time. And then we go out and we just do fun games. We talk about how we're feeling about school. Are we nervous? Talk about all those emotions. We have a look at the schools photos. We've made like a book that's really cool and the kids love, like just looking at the uniforms and
Yes.
what classrooms look like, and yeah, just sort of.
And you've
getting
also
that
been part of
conversation
that transition piece too, you know? So
Yeah.
you've been taking kids into school, right?
Yeah, which has been really cool. Going alongside them and having a school visit's always fun. Yeah.
And what are some of the it's always a real nerve-wracking time, not only just for the child but also for the parent. You know, what do you see as some of the major challenges in that space
For whānau or?
for the child, for whānau, for centre?
Yeah, I think where we are in Pāpāmoa, we've talked about there's a lot of first-time families, you know, the parents that they have no idea how the transition to school process works or how they should be feeling or what they need to do. So that's overwhelming. I can understand how overwhelming that is. So supporting whānau and children as well, like school is a scary thing. It can be so scary. It's the unknown. And they get to 5 and they're the big kids of our centre, and it's really, I'm grateful to be able to go along with them and explore their new environment and things like that. So
You spoke about it. You spoke about being the big fish in the small pond, to then going to the mount when you moved or Tauranga, and becoming the small fish again.
yeah,
That experience talks to your experience, doesn't it?
yeah, for sure.
So what learnings would you carry? What learnings do you carry from going from being the big fish into a small in the small pond to the small fish?
I think it's important as a teacher now. I totally see how children feel, and I think it's like nice for me to be there with them and just remind them like the similarities, that it's okay that we have this where we're from as well, and reminding them that they have a space there and that this will become their new pond, and that they'll find their way and everything will be fine, I suppose. Just reminding them and like working alongside them.
We've got some pretty strong evidence that the kids are going to do well there too, right? I think we've been very fortunate to see the Siennas and Harleys and things like that transition into that space pretty confidently. It's sad seeing them go, but it certainly has some success. Just going back then, so what was it like? What were you like going into school as a 5-year-old? What do you think? Or what do you know?
What I've been told, I was friends with quite a few of the older kids. So at my daycare, or at my preschool, I had younger siblings, so I was always looking after them, and then I had older friends that were always looking after me. So when I went to school, there's not many schools in Taupo, so I knew quite a lot of people. So I was quite confident in my environment, and I think, that first initial starting school, I was really excited to be in a new. I think I was ready. Yeah.
And so you're talking to relationships there. You had relationships, the ability to build relationships with older kids too.
Yeah.
Has that been a theme in your life? You're pretty good with relationships there?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm an energy person. I surround myself with people that make me feel good. And I thrive off other people's energy. And it happens at work every day. You know, I'm loving like the team that I'm in and the people that I work with. So same with friendships, you know, definitely thrive off people, doesn't matter how old they are. I think energy is where it's at.
Just taking a tack now, you recommended a book to me, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Yeah.
And you know, many people don't know this, but maybe lots of people know, I don't know. I love books. And I've read through part of it. It's a pretty powerful book.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for that book.
Yeah.
I think if I'd read that book kind of 10 years ago, that's certainly not a book I'm reading because it's quite confronting. But you have read it.
Yeah. I think it's a book that I go back to. I wouldn't say I'm much of a reader, but that book, I'm not even sure how I found out about it. But yeah, I think it was just recommended. And then when I first read it, I was like, whoa, this is not everything I needed to hear, but it's everything I have inside of me already. And it's just,
Yes.
it kind of makes you realize like, oh, I'm the driver of my car, which is my life.
Yeah. Because it is confronting in it basically does not leave any room for excuse, right?
No, it doesn't.
That book really drives home, like you say, that the power exists with you. What lessons do you carry with that?
I think I probably need to remind myself more of the lessons. You get so caught up in life. But definitely, I think we talked about it, like the first page, how it talks about a person, I can't even remember, how they were talking about how they needed all of these things, but then they opened up the box and it was in the box the whole time and they'd never looked in the box.
Yes.
So it's sort of similar like that.
A lot of people ignore, we've spoken about this in the council, like every day I try to deliver the parcel of opportunity. You'd be amazed at how many people don't open the parcel.
Yeah.
Like it would really amaze, if you stood back and if you think about that Eckhart Tolle book, lots of people walk past that parcel. They ignore it. They are scared to open it. They're comfortable where they are, so they don't see the need to open it.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's talking to.
Yeah.
Do you open the parcel every day?
Probably not. Not
Yeah.
every day. I think, that's something that takes a lot of time to. You have to constantly be reminding yourself of that, and it can be so easy. Like I was saying, to get caught up in life and you get swayed, but it's once you ground yourself and you look inside and it's like, oh, actually, I have these tools that are going to be able to help me get through, say if it's a challenge or whatever. Yeah.
Do you have the capability to open the parcel every day?
Probably. Yes.
Yep.
But sometimes not. Sometimes you're just not ready.
Yeah.
But you should be.
Some days it's too
Some
hard.
days it's harder. Yeah.
Some days it's
Some
hard.
days it is, yeah.
But I just wonder because that book is so powerful. What age did you read that at?
Probably. It was during lockdown.
Oh, well, okay, so
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
So what are we, 2020? You're 22. So you must be, what, 19?
Yeah. That was pretty
So you read that through lockdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful book to be reading. Because, like I said, it's quite confrontational,
Yeah.
especially at that age.
Yeah.
I think at that age, up until 21, it's 22 when you're kind of shunted by society to go and get a career and whatever. Reading a book like that can confront where you sit in life. I think the book was probably written for people that are in their mid-30s,
Yeah.
when they kind of hit that point of their life where they're like, I don't know what's going on now. But yeah, it's a very powerful book. Do you think,
Reminder.
with your own growth in the last, from Mr. Hughes to Mount College to university, and now you're in a career, your first phase of the career, like what does the next step look like for, you've gone through some obviously traditional steps.
Yeah.
What do you envisage for yourself in that next step in terms of just life?
I think being here has made me realise that you don't need to do the traditional steps. I think that's something that, I've been eye-opened. It's a big eye-opener. So I think the next stage, the next phase in my adventure, I suppose, is definitely travel.
Yes.
Travel's on the card for me. But just learning, I'm just literally a sponge. Like,
Yeah, you are.
I'm soaking up everything, and I'm like open to anything, and I'm passionate about school readiness, school transition. So just trying to do more of that.
Yes.
And
Let's dig into travel.
travel.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, we are lucky here in New Zealand, and I think you actually appreciate Aotearoa a bit more when you come back from travel. But what does travel look like? Not Aussie. Please don't just say Aussie.
No, I won't say Aussie.
Yeah.
Europe.
That's not travel. Aussie's not travel. Yeah, that is holiday. Yeah, at best. Oh. Yeah, Europe.
Yeah, Europe. Europe is on the cards for sure. Ever since I was younger, I had a list on my phone of all the places I wanted to go, and I just want to tick all those off. I think I want to explore.
So where are they? Tell us.
I mean, it sounds a bit basic, but I mean, I'd love to move to the UK.
Yes.
So my
This
mum.
is the traditional OE, yep.
Yeah. So I can apply for a British passport. And
Oh, cool.
then,
Is that through parents?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my mum's side is from the UK, so
Oh,
have family over there. Would love to travel around Europe, and then even Canada. Canada would be really cool for a couple of months. And then I would love to see where that takes me, see who I meet,
yes.
what opportunities arise, and even
What do you think? What does that look like post-pandemic, post being, you're in a new phase of the world? What is it you're looking to learn on those travels?
experiencing new things. I think, the pandemic really affected my university experience.
Yes.
And a lot of my friends that have graduated are now over there, and they are like, wow, it's a different environment. I think obviously it's not all what it's made out to be. It's not luxurious and it's overwhelming, but I kind of think I'm ready for that. I'm comfortable where I am. I think it's time that I need to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And experience new things.
And will you continue to teach, or what do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was another thing. When I was in high school, a lot of my teachers had gone to the UK and they'd taught over there and then got opportunities, Dubai or places like that. So I think that's kind of the path I'm leading to. I do want to be in education. I know that.
Yep.
Just learning. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think you'll encounter there? And the education
Challenges.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be completely different because I think New Zealand is so, I don't want to say authentic, but almost.
Yeah.
Te whāraki,
Yeah.
if we're looking at the early child. And then the New Zealand curriculum, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have
That's
no
exciting. But
Yeah.
and I don't see any, because earlier today you mentioned openness. You mentioned that as being a leadership trait or value that you, or a strength of yours. That, what does that allow you on in your growth? What is openness going to allow for your growth in the future?
I think because I'm still finding, I guess people talk about your teacher's philosophy. And I think I'm still finding that because I'm so young and I know it's always changing. And as a teacher, you need to be reflective. But I think my openness to and willingness to be open-minded and hearing other people's views, opinions, styles of teaching is ultimately going to craft for if I do come back to New Zealand one day.
Yes.
I'm going to.
What it's going to mould you into being.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at that. I really, I applaud you for thinking in that way. I mean, that certainly resonates with me in my own travel, especially going to the Middle East and really meeting an entirely different culture that was like absolutely so foreign from ours.
So different.
It really tested my mettle as a teacher. But it also really formed the basis of who I wanted to be as an educator. And, I realised in my journeys that actually no matter what God you're looking up to, you still need to be loved, cared, respected. You still need to have a voice and an opinion that is valued. You still need to belong to something. And curriculums aside, I just learnt that a smile is the language across the world. A hug, a high five, a pat on the back is a language that every kid actually resonates with. And I was really lucky. Like in Qatar, I had children that were Egyptian, Dutch, Danish, Qatari. I had also Algerian, Japanese, Korean, Kiwis, Aussies, South Africans. It was crazy. It was like just this British. It was just this massive melting pot. But it didn't matter because how you made kids feel is absolutely all that mattered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And curriculum aside, how you make kids feel, and I carry that in that space, and I see that in you. I know that I get to see you make kids feel special. Yeah. I'm thinking of one in particular child down there, Lizzie, and I think like she's one for all of us as a success, right? You know, I think she has been a real, and you've been down there for a while in that space. It's been a pretty cool journey with some of those kids, right?
Yeah. Watching them grow and seeing something in them and being like, you can do this. I think, she's a great example because when I first came in that space, she was nonverbal.
Yep. Yeah.
Couldn't really communicate at that stage. And now she's
I know.
You can't stop her talking.
I know.
You know?
I know.
Like
I
it's
know.
amazing watching. Yeah.
And
that's
you've
the
been
cool
a
thing.
benchmark in that room for her. You know, like the success you've had in those spaces has been, pretty phenomenal. Yeah. What do you think are your areas of work on in some of that space?
What I need to work on. Maybe I don't want to say confrontation,
Yep.
but having those challenging conversations.
Yep.
And maybe lots of things.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what could I work on? Yeah, lots of things. Everything.
What about I know teachers are hard on themselves about that. What about what does it when dealing with your own professional growth, what stands out to you as being something that you struggle with in our profession?
Being young.
Yeah, I understand that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
The assumption that because you're young, you don't know, you don't have children, so what do you know?
Yeah, I think that's something I struggle with a lot. It's probably just self-doubt, really.
Yeah.
Being young, I feel like it can be hard sometimes because, I don't have kids and I don't have years of experience and I haven't been in the workforce for long. So,
Yes.
it can be hard.
That is I'm really glad for your honesty there because I remember encountering that myself as a young teacher. People thinking you don't just have the experience to deal with that is frustrating at best, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not even fair or accurate. Yeah. So I want to go back to your study. Where did you do your practicums? What schools?
So
Can you remember?
my first year was at Frankton.
That's right. So Shay, who
Yes.
we interviewed, who was on the podcast, she was a Frankton primary child.
Yeah, so I was at Frankton. That was super eye-opening.
What year group was that?
I was year 5 and 6.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
They're not full primary. They're year 5. They go to
Yeah.
year 5, 6.
Yeah, and
That's
then
the big kids. And then
filter
off to
into
intermediate,
Midle.
middle intermediate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then my second year, I was at Hamilton West.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
fairly new school, Hamilton West.
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, it is. Whereabouts is that?
It's sort of in the centre of town.
Hamilton. I think that's a fairly new school. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What year group were you there?
I was year 3 and 4 there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then.
Oh, so your last practicum was in junior school.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Oh no! I had year 4. I think it was just I was at Hukanui in my last.
Oh right. Oh okay. So you did 2 years you did 2 practicums in a
2.
similar. It's probably
Yeah.
because pandemic, right?
Yeah, it changed.
Did you do full practicums?
No, the first year I did, and then second year and third year changed.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic.
What are the practicum's a bit of a throw you in the deep end type situation.
Yeah.
What was your favourite one?
Probably my first year.
Oh, yeah.
I think just because it was so exciting. I
Yes.
was like, oh my God.
It's a full week one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to be in the classroom and, yeah, get straight into it. I think, yeah, we got to have a day each week. So it was, yeah, once a week. And then, yeah, you'd have your 4-week practicum at the end of the year.
Yes, so placement and practicum, yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, I loved that school. Yeah, it was really eye-opening as well, first year.
Have you encountered any real outstanding academic leaders in that space, or your associate teachers or anyone were they really outstanding, or did they teach you some pretty clear lessons?
Yeah. I had some really really awesome mentor teachers. I think my second year placement I had a male teacher, and growing up actually I had my intermediate I had the same male teacher twice, and I don't know what it is. I think it's like. It's so awesome. Yeah. Working with male teachers, as there's not a lot in our
yes.
Yeah. So I learned a lot from him.
What's the diversity there? What's the difference there in approach? What do they do?
I don't know. It's almost their presence.
Yep.
I think, or I don't know if it's because there's not many. It's exciting.
And Mr. Hughes was obviously a big piece of your childhood in terms of a male principal. Did he teach? Or was he just principal?
Sometimes. Well, actually, my deputy principal was a male as well.
Right.
So I've kind of come from a space that there was a lot of male teachers, and they were all awesome. You know those like teachers, and they just stick out to you.
Yeah.
They used to come on the field and play.
Yep. Touch or something.
Yeah. Those people that are always just around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Present.
Yeah.
What lessons do you carry from them into your own practice?
I guess, being present. I think that's a big one. And I'm still trying to, it's a thing that you need to remember sometimes. Just taking that time to just sit down with the kids and enjoy what they're doing and just play.
Yeah.
And just play sometimes. That's the beauty of it. I guess they were always really passionate people, and they were always driven, and they, from a kid's perspective,
and when you say being present, because I love hearing you, because in that sense, that is the beauty of our sector. We get to get down and get in the mud with kids, right?
Yeah.
And hear that play and learning going on. It's like, like yesterday I watched Kaya and George and Kian and someone else, and they dug up all this mud and they were sliding it down the slide. But it was so interesting just seeing them all engage in what was some sort of joint venture.
Yeah. They come up with the most random things.
Yeah,
as
I know.
Well. And I think that's...
And they were doing it for ages, like ages. Yeah.
And it's cool because they'll probably go home at the end of the day and be like, we did this awesome thing.
Yes.
And that's just them.
Yes.
That's not even us setting up an experience for them.
Yes.
That's just them being kids.
Yes.
And learning.
And do you remember any of those experiences from your childhood with these people?
Yeah, I do. I remember my primary school was so cool. We had like a big bush area, and you were allowed to go in. And
awesome.
I remember these trees, and they had these massive roots. I literally remember wetting my pants because I didn't want to leave. I was having so much fun, and I was like to my friends, I need to go to the toilet, but I just don't want to leave. And I was like so invested in this play, and you'd play like families, and you'd make mud pies in these massive tree roots, and it was so much fun. And that was just us being like, I could play like that for hours.
Yes.
It was so cool. And then the bell would ring, and you'd be like, oh damn it.
Yes.
Gotta
But you'd go back to it, right? Like you'd do it at morning tea, come back up, go back down at lunch. If your parents allowed it, you would go back after school. That sort of function is the real basis of what ECE is, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what I've enjoyed because I studied primary school teaching, and I assumed I was going to go into that sort of age level. But now being in early childhood, I'm like, it's so more creative, and you get to do so more, like, do such more.
Yeah, so more. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. a lot more phase of creativity,
Yeah,
right?
creativity.
There's more opportunity. I agree. You know, I used to say that primary school teaching or teaching in general, you have to be a real creative. But that was really challenged, unfortunately, because that's not what some people prided themselves on as in terms of being a teacher. They prided themselves on reading scores and junk. That doesn't matter really, because do you remember your reading scores from? Yeah, you know, like, and you know, I'm much older than you, so yeah, I really almost fought that, and then I found ECE, and that was the model. It was like, let's play with kids and encourage them socially and emotionally to build themselves up and be these great little people, great little beings, you know. But where does it need to go now? Where does ECE need, in your eyes, because you're young and we want to see you in this space in generations, and it doesn't need to be as someone on the floor. I think personally you'll end up in a leadership space and something great, really. But where does it need to get the kudos that primary school has?
I think changing the stigma and the idea that it is just a daycare and I'm just sending my kids here just because it's easy and I need to work. That sort of, I know it still has that we're babysitters view,
Yes.
but it is changing. But I think that needs to change even more. And I think, people realising what we're actually doing.
And how do we change that, though?
Conversation,
Yes.
getting our ideas out there. I think we're doing a good job of it. I think we're on track. But I think, just...
We as in the
just
sector?
more as in Future Focus.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah. I think there's still a lot of room to grow.
The conversations are an important one, though.
Yeah, they are.
Like, I refuse to use that word daycare. You know, like, people say, oh, you in daycare? So I'm like, nah. I just,
What is
you know,
that?
I absolutely refute that word, you know, because it's not daycare.
Yeah.
You guys are teachers. You guys are educators. You know, you look at that, just if we take that moment back that we were talking about George and them yesterday, you know, like the level of learning that's going on in that room and that experience, you have to be skilled to see it. You can either just see it and go, oh, they're playing,
Yeah.
or you can see it for actually what it is.
Yeah.
Interaction, taking turns, being part of a team, joint venture, you know, approaching as teamwork, you know, figuring out problems, getting frustrated with one another, but still staying part of it. Like, you have to be incredibly skilled, and that's what I see. That's why, again, I love seeing what you guys are doing in that space, and especially, you know, with you and Paula and the team down there. I think, and Amy Kerr obviously doing amazing things with her leadership in space, but you guys free up time for kids to be kids, right? How do we keep play at the forefront of our daily program? How do we keep that richness of kids mucking in and experiencing the beauty of play to help their learning? How do we do that?
I think keeping them at the centre of our reasoning of why we do what we do. It's up to us to continue to create those environments. And it doesn't necessarily have to be always creating learning experiences that are following the kids' interests, but even just letting them learn. Letting them be, and then just following them in that sort of sense, and asking those questions and those open-ended questions, putting loose parts out for them to explore the...
And make their own decisions, and Oh, look,
I think that's important.
okay. I think what you guys are doing down there, and what I get to see, even though we've been affected by a lot of sickness and illness, you guys have not made any excuses. You guys just continue to get stuck in, and the quality is so high there. You know, I love going in and just seeing your team buzzing about what's going on. I love seeing the place being messy. And I really appreciate that. Well, Kate, look, thank you very much. I have appreciated this time having a yarn to you. So the last question we ask is a student that's had impact on you. You can say their name or not, but you can just discuss that child and how they've had an impact on you.
I guess one that stands out to me is a little girl who needs additional
support.
Support, yeah.
Yep.
And I've never really had the opportunity to work alongside whānau and that before, and she's really seeing her grow and where she is now and where she's going to continue to grow is really cool, and building that relationship with her and her whānau
that's been a real success story of yours. I think seeing her day to day now is just it's been a pretty phenomenal journey. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Kate. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Awesome.